You know what's funny? The worst moments of your life never start with lightning or a gunshot. They sneak in with a smile. I walked into that room like a fool, wearing a stupid navy blue blazer my wife Heather picked out for me. She said it made me look like a man with purpose. I didn't realize at the time she meant her purpose. I hadn't even closed the door behind me when I realized something was off. Not just the overly forced smiles, not just the smell of her sister's dollar store perfume choking the air. No, it was the energy. Tense. Like a birthday party for someone who just died. Her whole family was there. Her lawyer cousin Blaine. Her pastor Uncle Keith. Even her mother Sharon, who once told me in confidence that Heather was too clever for her own good. Well, today, I was about to find out just how clever. On the center table was a stack of legal papers, and sitting beside it like a hawk was some lawyer I didn't recognize. Bald, square glasses, the kind of guy who probably takes pleasure in foreclosure. I cleared my throat. What's going on? Heather didn't even bother to meet my eyes. She was too busy fixing her lip gloss in the reflection of a spoon. Her legs crossed, heels tapping the floor like Morse code for, "You're about to get played." That's when she spoke. "Well, babe," she said, sweet like a blade dipped in honey, "since you don't trust me with your inheritance, we thought maybe it's time to make it legal." Blaine chimed in like the family puppet. "We just need your signature here, and here. It's a trust transfer. Entirely legal. Simple stuff, really." I stood still, let that silence hang. Then I laughed. Not a loud one. Just the kind of chuckle that lets everyone know you see them. "Funny," I said, reaching into my coat pocket. "I brought someone too." That's when I opened the door. In walked Detective Rios. Not in uniform, he didn't need it. His badge was around his neck, and the folder in his hand looked like a small bomb waiting to go off. Heather's face twisted. One second she was Cleopatra on a throne, the next, just a woman with too many secrets and too little time. Her eyes went to the folder like it was poison. "Let's make this fun," I said, still calm. "Why don't you tell them what you've been doing while begging me for my money?" "Excuse me." Heather stood up, suddenly on fire. "Don't pull this manipulative bull's asterisk right now, Brian." "No," I said, my voice finally rising. "I'll pull the truth." Rios opened the folder. Photos. Dates. Hotel check-ins. Not just one guy, 3. And one of them? My own cousin, Derek. He was dumb enough to pose in a mirror selfie with her. Classy, huh? Heather tried to speak, but I cut her off. "While I was building a future, you were building a rotation." Blaine cleared his throat, probably realizing he backed the wrong horse. "What is this?" Sharon whispered, voice cracking. Heather snapped, "It's none of your business, Mom. He's just mad because I wanted to build something together, and he's being selfish." That's when I lost it. Selfish? You tried to rob me with a smile. You lured me into a room full of your flying monkeys and thought I'd roll over because you look good in a pencil skirt. Everyone was quiet now. Even the lawyer looked like he wanted to disappear. "I wanted us to have a future," Heather shouted. "But you were so busy playing the honorable man, protecting that damn inheritance like it was gold bricks. I deserved part of it." "You deserved what you earned," I said coldly. "And what you earned was this." I took out my phone and hit play. The recording of Heather laughing with Derek in bed, her voice clear as crystal. "Brian's too soft. I'll have that trust signed in a week. He won't know what hit him." The room erupted. Keith tried to defend her. "We all sin, Brian." But I was done. I pointed at the door. "Everyone out." Heather lunged forward. "You can't do this." I just did. Detective Rios handed me his card, nodded, and left. One by one, they filed out, some muttering, some looking ashamed, Heather the last to leave. She turned back just before the door closed, her voice suddenly sugar again. "You're throwing away everything." "No," I said, eyes locked on her. "You did." I didn't sleep that night. Not a wink. I sat on the edge of the bed that had once meant comfort, now just felt like a battlefield. The sheets still smelled like her. Lavender and lies. My phone buzzed nonstop, calls from Heather, from her sister Lisa, even Blaine tried to reach me. I let them all rot in voicemail hell. I had nothing left to say. Not yet. You know what's wild? Looking back, the signs were always there. I just didn't want to believe them. Heather wasn't just cheating on me in bedsheets, she was cheating me in conversations, in glances, in all those tiny moments I dismissed as stress or mood swings. A few months ago, she stopped caring about how I felt. Her hugs got shorter. Her phone never left her side. She used to smile when I walked into the room. Then it turned into irritation. Everything I said annoyed her. My silence annoyed her. Breathing probably annoyed her too. And still, like an idiot, I thought maybe she was just overwhelmed. Overwhelmed? She had more free time than a retiree in Florida. Meanwhile, I was out busting my back building that damn property out in Chesapeake. The house that was supposed to be ours. The dream. Heather barely set foot on the land, but she loved to give her opinions from afar. Granite counters, gold handles, marble floors, always top shelf, always expensive. Funny how she treated our life like a shopping spree while I was treating it like a legacy. And then came the little things. She started dressing up to go see friends, but came home without a trace of lipstick left. Her phone was always on silent, and if it lit up around me, she'd flip it over like it was a damn secret agent dossier. But the one that slapped me hardest? It was a Tuesday. I came home early. Just walked in. No text, no heads up. Her voice echoed from the patio, laughing. Flirty. She said, "You're so bad," and then laughed again, that high-pitched fake giggle she never used with me anymore. I stepped outside. Nobody there. She said she was just on the phone with Lisa. But Lisa, bless her dumb honesty, later told me she hadn't talked to Heather all day. That night I stared at the ceiling for hours. Something in me shifted. Not rage, not heartbreak, focus. I reached out to Rios the next morning. He used to be a client. Private investigator now. Said he'd dig. Said I wasn't the first guy to get played by a pretty face and a dirty heart. I told him I didn't want just names. I wanted timestamps, photos, recordings. Proof that I wasn't crazy. He delivered. She'd been sleeping with Derek for months. My cousin. A guy who once lived on my couch for a year. The other two? One was a gym trainer. The other, some guy she met on a business conference in Miami, only she wasn't on business. She was on a trip funded by my last tax refund. Heather played me. Not just like a man, but like a damn ATM. And I'd been blind because I loved her. I loved her. Stupid, right? You give someone your trust, they wrap it in gasoline and set it on fire. And even now, after all that, some part of me still wanted to ask why. Why wasn't I enough? Why was the money more important? Why did she want to destroy the one person who actually gave a damn about her? But those questions were pointless. You don't ask snakes why they bite. It's just what they do. The next morning, I sent her a message. We talk tonight. No lies. You owe me that much. She showed up 2 hours late, dressed like she was heading to a nightclub instead of a reckoning. Tight red dress. Long nails. Too much perfume, not enough shame. I didn't even ask her to sit. She paced. Dramatic. Like she was the victim. Like I had betrayed her. You're seriously spying on me now, she snapped. No, I said calmly. I confirmed what I already knew. She scoffed. You think you're so righteous. You hoard money like a dragon, but the moment I want to build something together, you treat me like a gold digger. You try to steal my inheritance using a family ambush, Heather. That's not building together. That's warfare. You weren't using it. Just sitting on it like some sacred treasure. I stepped closer. That inheritance was my father's dying gift. And you tried to rip it out of my hands with your cousin holding a pen. She folded her arms. So what now? You want to play divorce court? Fine. But I'm not leaving empty-handed. That's when I smiled. Because while she was busy playing chess, I'd already flipped the board. I've already filed, I said. But you're not walking away with a cent. Her face cracked. You can't do that. I already did. She lunged for my phone out of nowhere. Nails flashing. Screaming now. Called me every name in the book. She tried to slap me. I stepped back, let her swing at air. You'll regret this, she shrieked. No, Heather, I said, dead calm. You will. She left clawing at the air, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the frames on the wall. I stood there, breathing through the chaos, watching the last fragments of our life as husband and wife fall off the edge. There was no going back. I wasn't mourning anymore. I was sharpening. I didn't sit down. I couldn't. My hands were trembling, not from fear or sadness anymore, but adrenaline. She thought this was over. She thought it would end like every other fight we did before, with her flipping the script, weaponizing my loyalty, making me question my own mind. Not this time. By noon the next day, I had already frozen our joint accounts. She tried pulling money around 9 a.m., the bank flagged it. She must have woken up thinking she still had control. It probably never crossed her mind that I would be the one moving first. But I'd had enough sleepless nights. Enough betrayal bleeding into my bones. And the calls started again. First just her voicemails filled with fake apologies, gaslighting dressed up in tears. You're overreacting, Brian. It was just emotional. I didn't mean to hurt you. Then came her sister, who used to pretend she liked me but could never quite fake it well. You really want to burn everything down just because your ego's bruised? Even her mother, Sharon, who hadn't called me in over a year, suddenly decided I was worth talking to. You two just need time apart. You can fix this. No one wanted to talk about what she'd done. No one cared that I'd been loyal, that I never so much as looked at another woman while Heather was out doing God knows what with God knows who. No. All they saw was me finally waking up, and they didn't like that. Because a man who forgives is easy to manipulate. A man who's awake? Dangerous. But the moment that broke everything into final pieces came 2 days later. Heather came back, not to talk, not to apologize, to threaten. I heard the knock, opened the door, and there she was. Dressed plain this time. No glam, no makeup, just rage and yoga pants. I want my things, she said. They're boxed up in the garage, I replied. She shoved past me. I'm not taking boxes like some side chick. I'm getting what's mine. I followed her in silence as she stomped up the stairs, grabbing jewelry I bought, bags I paid for, yanking drawers open like she owned the walls. Then she turned, pointed her finger in my face. You think you're the victim? You always acted like a martyr, Brian. Like loving you was some reward. You were boring. Predictable. I stayed out of pity. That one hit. She stayed out of pity. That's the kind of line you never forget, no matter how far you move on. I think she meant it to hurt, and it did. But it also snapped something that needed to break. I stepped back, stared at her. You don't even realize how small you sound, do you? She rolled her eyes. Save the therapy voice. You're not deep, Brian. You're just a guy with a trust fund and daddy issues. And then she smiled. That smug little curl of her lip that used to make me weak now just made me nauseous. By the way, she added, I already talked to a lawyer. You'll be lucky if you keep your truck when I'm done. I didn't react. I'd already prepared for this. You mean your lawyer? I asked. Or mine? That wiped the grin clean off her face. You'll find out soon enough, I said, pulling the envelope from the drawer. I sent discovery documents to your boyfriend Derek too. He's listed in the suit. Civil damages. Emotional distress. Conspiracy to defraud. It's all there. Her face went pale. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Funny, I said, my voice calm. You said I was predictable. You should have known I don't lose. I just wait for the right moment. She dropped the perfume bottle she was holding. Glass shattered across the floor. Get out, I said. She looked at me, really looked, for the first time in weeks. But it wasn't love or even hate behind her eyes. It was fear. The realization that the man she'd manipulated, mocked, and betrayed wasn't crawling back. He was building something out of her ashes. She stormed out without another word. This time, I didn't watch her go. I just closed the door, locked it, and stood in the silence. It didn't feel like a home anymore. It felt like a crime scene finally being cleaned up. ChatGPT Powie Edziel. I spent the next few days in a trance, half man, half machine. Every move had a purpose now. Calls to the lawyer, filing motions, transferring titles, digging through digital files like a man uncovering buried landmines. My marriage hadn't ended in one day. It had been rotting for months, maybe longer. I just hadn't noticed how far gone the smell was. I had the security cameras installed that same week. I didn't trust her not to come back and try something stupid. And I was right. 2 nights later, I caught her in the footage trying to sneak into the garage. Probably thought she could snatch something valuable before the courts got their hands on it. When the alarm kicked on, she panicked and bolted like a raccoon. I sent the footage to my lawyer, just in case. Meanwhile, Derek tried to call me. Yeah, him. My own blood. My cousin, who I gave a place to live when he had nothing but a backpack and a habit of blowing through every paycheck. Now he wanted to clear the air. I let the call go through. His voice was sheepish. Brian, man, it wasn't supposed to happen like this. Like what, Derek? You weren't supposed to screw my wife, or you weren't supposed to get caught. Silence. I waited. She came on to me. Bro said you were cold, distant. I didn't mean for it to go that far. I almost laughed. So, what? She tripped and fell onto you. You think this is the part where I forgive you? He stammered. It wasn't just, physical. We talked. She said you never let her in. That you kept secrets. Oh, I kept secrets? That's rich coming from 2 liars covered in each other's guilt. I'm sorry, man. No, I said. You're sorry you got exposed. And now you're both going to pay for it. I hung up, blocked his number. I wasn't going to give him the satisfaction of seeing me rage or beg. Let the courts do the talking. Let the evidence grind them down. It's strange how betrayal changes your wiring. You stop looking for meaning in things. You stop second-guessing every step. You just move, cold, precise, surgical. But that didn't mean I wasn't bleeding under it all. At night, the silence came with memories I didn't ask for. Her laugh when it was real. The nights we slow danced in the kitchen for no reason. The way she used to hold my hand under the table at family dinners, like it was our secret. And then I remembered her voice in that recording, giggling in bed with Derek, saying she'd get me to sign over the inheritance. That always brought me back. There's no way to fully explain what it does to a man, to know the person you trusted with your future only ever saw you as a step on their way up. Not a partner. Just a wallet with feelings. I talked to my lawyer again. We had everything set. Prenup enforcement, fraud claims, defamation countermeasures, asset protection. Heather thought she'd be walking away with a settlement and a smug little smirk. Instead, she was getting slapped with court orders and a full audit of her financial history. The more we looked, the more we found, money funneled into hidden accounts, gifts bought for her friends, vacations labeled as business expenses. She didn't just cheat. She planned. Every lie was a brick in her escape tunnel. I started documenting everything. Not out of pettiness, but clarity. For the first time in years, I saw the whole picture. No more rose-colored glasses. No more making excuses for her moods, her distance, her dismissiveness. She was never just tired. She was never just stressed. She was always planning her exit. She just hoped I'd fund it. The worst part? She probably thought she was justified. That I deserved it. That's the dangerous thing about people like her. They can burn you down and still call themselves the victim. A few days later, I got served, divorce papers this time, from her. I laughed when I opened the envelope. She wanted the house, spousal support, half of the inheritance, and a public apology in writing for emotional neglect. That last one almost made me choke. I didn't even call my lawyer right away. I just sat with it. Read every line, every demand, every insult wrapped in legalese. This woman really believed she still had leverage. She didn't know I'd already leaked the recording. Quietly, anonymously. Her little moment of pride with Derek now had thousands of plays online. She hadn't found out yet, but she would. I didn't need revenge. I just needed the truth to breathe. And now it was. The morning of the family meeting came fast. Heather had called 3 days earlier, voice syrupy sweet like she hadn't tried to gut me emotionally just weeks before. Said her family wanted to talk. About healing, she claimed. About making things right. I agreed to come calm, quiet. Let her think I was naive. Let her believe the old Brian was still in there somewhere. She didn't know I already had a plan of my own. I showed up to her parents' house, big place, white brick, too clean for people that dirty. Her mom Sharon greeted me with fake warmth, too much perfume, and a smile that didn't touch her eyes. Her dad didn't even look up from the armchair. The living room was packed. Heather, Lisa, Sharon, a lawyer I'd never seen before, and another man in a blazer who looked like he ironed his skin every morning. Documents sat on the coffee table, thick and ready. Heather crossed her legs, calm and cocky, sipping tea like she was at brunch with her girls. "Brian," she said with that patronizing tilt of her head, "we're hoping we can have a civil discussion today." I looked around. Her family sat like a jury already convinced of my guilt. "This about the inheritance?" I asked. "Don't make this harder than it has to be," Lisa said, her voice sharp. "Heather has been through so much." The lawyer slid the documents forward. "This is a voluntary agreement. If you sign today, we can avoid a lengthy legal process." I didn't even reach for the papers. Heather leaned forward. "I told them you'd see reason. This money's just sitting there, Brian. Do the right thing for both of us." I smiled. Real calm. Real slow. "Funny," I said. "I brought someone too." Everyone looked around. And in walked Rios. Black suit. Silver laptop. Calm as death. He nodded at me, then clicked open a file on the screen. "Hi, everyone. Just a few things before we continue." Heather's face dropped like a bad stock. Rios tapped a key. The recording played. Loud. Crystal clear. Her voice, sweet and smug. "He won't see it coming. I'll get him to sign it over before the lawyers even show up. It'll be easy," he's soft. "He still thinks I love him." Silence. Then Lisa's jaw snapped shut. Sharon stood up like she could somehow undo the moment. The lawyers froze. Heather went pale. "Who the hell is this?" she hissed. "My investigator," I said. "Your mistake was thinking I came alone." Rios tapped again. More audio. Laughing. Kissing sounds. Derek's voice slurring something about buying a house in Cabo with Brian's blood money. I stood up, calm as ever. This meeting's over. Her father finally spoke. This can't be legal. It's very legal, Rios said, especially when it's evidence of fraud and attempted coercion. Heather's voice cracked. You set me up. I turned to her. No, I said. You set yourself up. I just stopped pretending not to see it. She lunged at the table, tried to grab the laptop, but Rios was faster. She missed and sent the tea flying. Sharon screamed. The lawyers stood up, muttering about needing to reassess representation. And Heather just stood there in the wreckage she made, mascara bleeding down her face, eyes wild. I walked out. Didn't slam the door. Didn't say another word. Rios followed behind, silent, respectful. We got in the car. I didn't start it right away. You okay? He asked. No, I said. But I'm free. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't drink. I didn't even scroll through the old photos. I just sat on the porch of the Chesapeake property, cold beer in hand, silence in my chest for the first time in months. There was still a long road ahead. Court dates. Hearings. But the power was back where it belonged, in my hands. Heather lost everything in that moment. Not because I destroyed her. Because she revealed herself. And I finally had the spine to stop forgiving her for it. 3 weeks passed. I barely noticed time moving. Days blurred together between legal filings, meetings with Rios, and the quiet unpacking of my new, simpler life. I'd rented a small place on the edge of town, not because I had to, but because I wanted something untouched by her perfume, her lies, her drama. I woke early now. Made coffee like a ritual. Hit the gym. Read again. Even picked up my old guitar from the attic. It still smelled like old wood and teenage dreams. Some nights I played till my fingers ached, not because I was good at it, but because it drowned out her voice in my head. Heather didn't stop. First came the text bombs, pages of emotional blackmail. You're ruining my life. You're turning everyone against me. You made me this way. Then the social media games, posts about how she was healing after emotional abuse, the fake crying selfies, the quotes about toxic men and empowerment. Her followers lapped it up. Sympathy without evidence, applause without accountability. But the people who mattered? They were quiet now. Her friends, her coworkers, even her own father, none of them were stepping up to defend her. Not after that audio leaked. Not after the court documents hit the clerk's site and the facts started speaking louder than her filtered stories. She tried spinning it, of course. Told everyone I was spiteful. That I hacked her. That I was obsessed with punishing her. But when Rios dropped a second wave of evidence, screenshots, receipts, bank transfers in Derek's name, she disappeared for a while. Deleted her accounts. Went silent. I almost felt peace. Until the knock came. It was late. Almost midnight. I was already in sweatpants and half asleep on the couch. I opened the door, and there she was. Heather. Rain-soaked. Mascara smeared. Hair wild like she'd run through a storm. I didn't say anything. She didn't ask to come in. Just walked in like she still had that right. I messed up, she said. I shut the door behind her. Not because I wanted to, but because I wasn't letting my neighbors see the circus. You think? I said. She turned, teary-eyed. The act again. I thought I could control everything. I thought I could, make it all fit together. You. Me. Derek. The money. It just got away from me. No, I said flatly. You didn't lose control. You never had it. You just thought lying was easier than being decent. She stepped closer. Too close. I'm not asking for forgiveness, Brian. I don't know who I am without this. Without what? She looked down. The game, she whispered. And there it was. She said it like it was nothing. Like it wasn't my life, my trust, my love she treated like poker chips. The worst part? I think she believed she was being honest for once. I'm not coming back, I said. She nodded. A weak, broken thing. I figured. I just wanted to look you in the eye and say it. You already did, I said. Dozens of times. And every one of them was a lie. She stepped toward the door, but paused with her hand on the knob. Derek left, she said. Took my cards. Emptied the stash. Said I was too much baggage. I didn't respond. I thought he loved me. I shrugged. You thought a lot of things. She left. I locked the door after her again. Not in anger this time, but in finality. I didn't care if she cried. I didn't care if she went to a hotel or slept in her car. I cared that I never had to hear another one of her lies and feel obligated to believe it. Because once you see someone's truth, you can't unsee it. You can only decide whether you'll keep pretending. And I was done pretending. The final court date came quicker than I expected. That morning, I wore a suit I hadn't touched since our wedding. Fitted black, clean tie, polished shoes, simple, sharp. I looked at myself in the mirror and didn't see the man she tried to break anymore. I saw the man who survived her, who clawed his way out of her web with scars and self-respect. The courtroom was cold, clinical. Wood paneling, harsh lights, that thick air of judgment hanging like fog. Heather sat on the opposite bench with her lawyer, a younger guy now, probably all she could afford after the first one dropped her. She wouldn't look at me. I didn't care. Her face was pale, thinner than I remembered, lips tight with that same arrogance she always wore when things didn't go her way. But behind her eyes, she was cracked, and she knew it. Rios sat beside me, calm, focused. He'd been through this dance before. Me? This was the finale. The judge read through the paperwork with professional boredom. Asset division, the prenup enforcement, spousal support, denied. Custody? Not an issue, thank God. She had tried to challenge the inheritance again, citing emotional damages. It got laughed out of the room. Then came her turn to speak. Heather stood up, straightened her blouse, and delivered one of her usual performances, half tears, half deflection. Talked about how she felt trapped, how the marriage was isolating, how she lost herself trying to please me. Classic. She never once apologized. Never once owned a single thing. When the judge finally asked me if I had anything to say, I stood up and kept it short. She lied, I said, over and over. She manipulated, stole, cheated. Not just on me, but on the life we were supposed to build together. I'm not here for vengeance. I'm here for the truth. And the truth's already done its work. The judge nodded. Final papers signed. Bang of the gavel. It was over. She looked at me one last time as I walked out. I thought maybe there'd be a flicker of remorse. But no. Just that same icy smirk, like she still thought she was going to land on her feet somehow. Maybe she would. People like Heather always find a way to slither through cracks in the system. Someone else would believe her next sob story, fall for her rehearsed tragedies. But it wouldn't be me. Outside, the air was bright and cruel. I took a long breath. Rios clapped a hand on my back. You won. Yeah, I said. But more than that, I'm done. That night, I burned the last wedding photo. Just one. The rest I'd already deleted, boxed, erased. But that last one? I kept it till the end. It was us, on a beach in Maui. Her in a white dress, smiling with her whole face, holding my hand like I was the only man on earth. A lie in perfect lighting. I watched it curl in the fire pit. Watched her face twist, blacken, disappear. And it felt good. Not bitter. Not angry. Just free. I started traveling again. First a week up in the Rockies, then 2 months on the road, no plan, just my car, a duffel bag, and playlists full of songs I hadn't heard since college. I met people. Real people. Slept in cheap motels, ate greasy food, wrote in a journal I'd forgotten I owned. I remembered what it felt like to be alive, not managed, not guilt-tripped, not handled like a paycheck with legs. One morning in Arizona, I got a message from Lisa, Heather's sister. Just 5 words. She's moving to Miami. Alone. I didn't reply. Didn't even think about it much. Let her run. Let her start over in a city full of fake smiles and fast lies. She'd fit in just fine. Me? I was done chasing closure. The truth is, you don't always get justice. You don't always get apologies. Sometimes you just get distance, and if you're lucky, peace. Looking back, I should have seen the signs earlier. The coldness. The lies dressed as jokes. The way she used to talk down to me when she thought no one else could hear. But love blinds you. Now, I see everything. And if I could give one piece of advice to anyone stuck in the kind of storm I walked through, it's this. Don't wait for it to get better. Burn it down. Build again. Just make sure this time, the walls are yours. A year passed. Not quickly. Not slowly. Just enough time for everything to settle, like ash after a fire. Life didn't hand me some grand reward for surviving her. There was no perfect ending, no parade for making it through. But what I did get was better than all of that. Silence. Clarity. And finally, control over my own damn story. I bought a house in Colorado. Smaller than our old one, but all mine. No designer furniture, no fake plants for her aesthetic, no gold-trimmed frames with smiling lies inside. Just wood floors, stone walls, and windows that let the sunrise punch straight through in the morning. I kept the kitchen simple. Learned to cook again. Not for someone else, not for show, but for me. Steak with real char, black coffee, eggs the way I like them. I didn't have to listen to anyone whine about dairy, macros, or some new diet trend Heather read about on TikTok. I went back to work with my brother, Ryan. Construction. Honest sweat, real hours, none of that fake business management garbage Heather used to mock. Manual labor? Brian, that's for guys who peaked in high school. Turns out, I love it. There's something healing about building something that wasn't there the day before. Sometimes, after a long shift, I drive up into the mountains with a six-pack and sit by the edge of a cliff, watching clouds roll over like slow waves. It didn't fix everything, but it reminded me of how small everything else really was. Heather tried reaching out one last time. This time it was a letter handwritten. I almost didn't open it. But curiosity's a hell of a thing. Inside, she talked about Miami. How things fell apart. How she wasn't ready for the fallout from everything she did. How Derek turned out to be a mistake. How she hoped I was doing well. Said she was going to therapy. That she was learning to be honest. No apology. No accountability. Just more words. She ended it with, "If you ever want to talk again, maybe just as friends, I'd like that. I miss you." I folded the letter, tore it in half, and tossed it into the fire pit with the others. Heather didn't miss me. She missed the version of herself that looked better next to me. She missed the guy who covered her lies, fixed her messes, and made her feel valuable because he had value. But she never missed loving me, because she never did. I finally understood that. And when I did, the bitterness melted off like dead skin. Now I sleep without waking up in cold sweats. I don't replay arguments in my head. I don't rehearse imaginary comebacks. I don't wonder where she is or what she's doing or who she's ruining next. She's not my problem anymore. One night, a friend of mine, James, invited me to a backyard bonfire. Nothing fancy, just beer, music, good people. There, I met someone. Her name was Katie. She didn't come on strong. She wasn't loud or flashy or trying to sell a version of herself she thought men wanted. She just was. Funny. Sharp. Quiet confidence. A nurse who worked night shifts and made fun of me for always carrying tools in my truck. We talked. For hours. Not about trauma. Not about our exes. Just about books, movies, food, weird road trip stories. It felt easy. I don't know where it'll go. But for once, I'm not afraid of trying again. Not because I've forgotten what happened, but because I finally know who I am without someone trying to rewrite me. And if you're reading this, if you're stuck in something like what I was in, listen to me. When someone shows you they'll cut you open and call it love, believe them. Walk away. Even if your legs shake. You'll stand taller later. I did. It was a crisp October morning the first time Katie stayed the night. No drama. No hidden agendas. Just two people, tangled in the comfort of each other's honesty. She wore one of my old flannels in the kitchen, hair messy, face still sleepy. Made coffee without asking where things were, like she'd always belonged. And something about that, it didn't scare me. It grounded me. We didn't talk about love. Not yet. But it was in the silence, in the way she reached for my hand without looking or laughed from her chest, unafraid of sounding weird. There were no power plays. No guilt tricks. No walking on eggshells. And it hit me how foreign that felt. I'd spent years thinking relationships were just storms you had to survive. That love meant compromise, even if it bled you dry. That normal meant cold shoulders and passive-aggressive texts and keeping secrets just to keep peace. But this was real. Katie didn't ask about Heather often, but when she did, she didn't pry. She listened. Really listened. Once I told her the whole story, everything. The lies, the affair, the ambush with the lawyers. She didn't gasp or act shocked or throw out a string of curse words. She just said, "Damn. No wonder you sleep like a soldier." That night, I slept deeper than I had in months. The nightmares came less and less. The old triggers, Heather's perfume, a particular ringtone, her favorite show, they started to lose their grip. One by one, they became just noise in the background, like echoes from a house I burned down and left behind. But healing's not a straight line. It's a messy, jagged hike. There were still days I woke up clenched, like when I saw her again. It was at a hardware store, of all places. I turned a corner in the paint aisle and there she was. Heather, holding a shopping cart like it was armor. Her hair was shorter now, bleached badly, eyes dull. She froze when she saw me. For a second, the whole world held its breath. I nodded. Nothing more. She gave a weak smile, like the kind you give an old classmate you used to cheat off in math. And then she looked down, adjusted her purse, and walked away. No drama. No scene. Just distance. And that was the moment I knew I didn't hate her anymore. I didn't want her back. I didn't want her hurt. I just didn't want her in my life. Ever again. Back at home, Katie noticed I was quiet. I told her what happened. She didn't get jealous. Didn't try to dig. Just kissed my shoulder and said, "You handled it." Yeah, I did. A few months later, I finalized the sale of the old property Heather and I once shared. I donated some of the money, took the rest, and booked a solo trip to Italy. My first real vacation in years. No pretending, no drama, no Instagram fakeness. I sat on the cliffs of Amalfi with a glass of wine, legs swinging over the edge, watching the sun disappear into the sea. And I realized something. You don't get closure from the person who broke you. You get it the moment you stop waiting for them to fix it. That's the twist no one tells you. You don't need revenge. You don't need the perfect clapback or for them to crumble. You just need to choose you, loudly, consistently, even when it's lonely. Heather never apologized. But I forgave her anyway. Not for her. For me. Because I deserve to be free. And now? Now, every day is mine. Every step, every choice, every breath I take without second-guessing whether it'll start another fight. That's the real win. That's the ending. Not with fireworks or dramatic closure, but with peace. And the kind of quiet that doesn't make your skin crawl. The kind you can live inside. And finally breathe.